Hi, everybody, and a happy Friday. I hope everybody's looking forward to a spring weekend. Things are starting to spring up around here. It depends on where you live. May have started a long time ago, or they may not be happening yet, but hopefully soon. And last time I suggested that maybe people share very briefly how they've used AI recently and if it's helped them out in any way. So, let's just open things up. We don't have too many people today, so yeah, let's just open it up and ask. Raise your hand and or unmute yourself.
I'll go ahead and share one of the projects that I have been working on is to help figure out a way to partially at least automate email handling for one of our team members here in the company. And I have leaned, Diane's pointing at herself.
Guilty
I
party
have
here.
I have leaned heavily on ChatGPT, and quite frankly, I would never have gotten so far as I have. I still got more to go, but I would not have gotten as far as I have without leaning heavily on ChatGPT. So that's something that has been very, very helpful. And not just a few minutes here and there, hours. It has saved me hours of investigation, a huge amount of frustration, etc. It hasn't been perfect going through. Everything hasn't worked perfectly, but it certainly has helped me troubleshoot, figure out where the hiccups are and fix things so that I could move on. So that's been something I have been using and will continue to use it for in the future. So that's my share.
Nice.
I'll go next. Hi, everybody. I'm Lori. And this morning, as a matter of fact, I've spent the last 3.5 hours using ChatGPT. We are doing a corporate name change, and I have to update with the various state entities and the federal entities for payroll related tax forms and notifying the payroll company, et cetera. So I've been heavily using ChatGPT this morning to help me locate the right forms to fill in those forms. Believe it or not, it's actually starting to do some form filling and to get all that information pulled together and updated. So, super big time saver for me instead of having to go out to each individual website and try to find where the form is, what is the form. GPT's been doing all that for me. So, super big time saver this morning. Really glad to have it as my assistant because that's how I look at ChatGPT.
Great. Thank you. Ben, you're a little bit newer in here. I don't want to put you on a hot seat, but have you been using ChatGPT for a while?
Majority of my experience with ChatGPT, writing emails back and forth, and that's what I do. I put an email, I receive it, and ask ChatGPT to review and send it out. And also, I'm in the marketing industry. Sometimes when I do SEO or if we do the websites and we need some information, like recently we working with the e-commerce website, they have a catalog, and basically ChatGPT take all the information from the catalog and give me a structure of how to set up the website and how to set up all the products and fixing all these images. So basically grab the information from the PDF file and create everything. That's my experience. I'm still learning. I'm still in process.
Oh, aren't we all? There's no really big book in the sky. We learn principles and how to use it and then just keep working with it. And it's changing all the time. So that's really good to hear. And I'm going to guess that saved you a bunch of time and maybe frustration in the process.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And sorry,
Cool.
I will not be able to attend whole meeting today. I need to jump to another call pretty soon, but I'm glad I'm learning from you guys. You have a lot of experience in that area.
Well, great. Hopefully you can grab the prompts in the slide deck and apply the prompts after the fact if you haven't had a chance to get there. Anybody else? If not, that's okay. We can go ahead and jump in. So today we were just discussing ahead of time, it's made to stick, and I'm going, that is absolutely the best book cover I have ever seen. And with that duct tape on the front of it and all the little wrinkles. And Rachel mentioned that because it had all those little wrinkles in it, she wanted to pull it off and fix it. So that surprise element. So good. All right. I listened to this about 5 years ago. I'm totally excited about having it help me now in our current environment as we are changing some of the focus of our company or adding to the focus of our company. So, of course, if you need a free version of ChatGPT that shows you how to do it and downloading the file from the chat window in Zoom, you can download it directly and keep it and or open it after you have gone through that download process.
Yeah.
And
Rachel
of
has
course,
already added the slide deck to the chat, to our Zoom chat window, and we'll be adding the prompt to the Zoom window chat in just a moment or in a few
just a
minutes.
minute or two. And so, of course, this, I always say, why are we doing this? Why are we spending time expanding our brains? Because in my way of thinking, AI is helping us to expand our brains, and it is moving along very quickly. And in this last week, we have seen several major corporations put out an AI first memo from the top of the company that says pretty much everybody's responsible for learning and using AI. That's going to be part of your annual evaluation. We're not going to add any new people until you have justified why you can't get something done through AI with existing staff. And the memos are remarkably similar, and it's coming from the top, which quite often is an issue with companies when changes are occurring. If it doesn't start at the top, it doesn't happen. And just be aware that this is starting to change. We've been talking about it. The consultants group that I belong to has been talking about this for months now, and it's really starting to happen. So it will be likely coming from two directions, top down from bigger organizations, bottom up through our educational system. And that may take a little while, but you don't necessarily want to be caught in the middle without knowing what's going on. So you guys can read this. I'm not going to read through it for you. We're recording, of course. This is going to come out. You'll see an email from us likely late next week to let you know that the recordings are available. And we will close the doors here pretty quickly as soon as we get those prompts out to you. Remember, confidential information, you want to be a little careful about that. Anonymize. If you have client data, you may want to anonymize it as you're working with it. And think of something that relates to your work and apply that as we're working together. Probably we won't have breakout sessions today. We'll just kind of all work together and share what we're finding after we've had a few minutes to take a look at the prompt and work with it. Of course, my experience, I like to share my why. I could finally move beyond the numbers. Before I started my company, I spent 3 years in public accounting, 13 years in banking, and 30 years ago started my company. And I've been working with the numbers all the way through that arena, other than when I was in internal auditing, but even then we were looking at numbers. And this AI is going to allow me to work more effectively with my clients to help them move above and beyond the numbers. The numbers aren't going to go away, but we want to add into the overall operations. I did join that Simple AI Consultants group, and that's been fantastic for me. We got all sorts of additional training options. And one of the big things that they showed us was how we can use it for every single role, regardless of what role you're in. So we're going to, you've probably downloaded and saved this. The prompt is going into your Zoom chat here. But I'd like to talk about this before we jump in. Made This Stick is all about communication and how to communicate in a way that is better and so that people will stop and pay attention and they will retain how we're communicating with them. So, how do we get our ideas or our requests or what we're doing stick? I thought that was a great word for them to pick out. So, here are some examples. Is there a way to simplify my message? This is one of the things the book talks about. Can I find a surprise way to capture attention? All of us love getting kind of jolted out sometimes out of our comfort zone. Can we determine and focus on specifics so that we know exactly what we're talking about, not being vague and general. And will a story be a good way to communicate my idea? So the tip is to keep your prompts so you can rerun them again in the future. And because it's not a one-time thing, a lot of these things can be applied in many different areas of your life. So many books that we're providing, and then so many different ways to apply them. So let's go into working on your individual results. And I'm going to run the timer up here for 12 minutes and then fill in the information as it's requested. It's going to ask you right up front. If you take a look at the prompt, it's going to ask you right up front, what is one challenge that you may be facing when it comes to communicating? And then that way it's going to help take that and apply it to the principles within the book to help you. Any questions before we start? Laura, did you want to make a comment or two?
I did. When you look at the prompt, and Diane mentioned some of the information it's going to ask you to provide to it. The one that I had the question on was to provide it with one current communication related challenge or opportunity. So I asked Diane this morning when we were taking a look at it, I said, what exactly does that mean? And she gave you some examples in the previous slide because I wasn't quite sure what it meant. I was saying, well, does that mean, should I ask it about Facebook or LinkedIn? But I liked her clarification. If you wouldn't mind, Diane, sliding back up to that slide for the ideas. So that communication, I liked her ideas here in this slide to give you kind of a jump start on what that one current communication related challenge or opportunity part of the prompt is. So that's what I wanted to provide as feedback.
Thank you. And I thought maybe you were thinking that this had to do with how do I communicate with AI, but the book is really about how do you communicate with your audiences, with your friends, your coworkers, if you're going to do a presentation, something like that. Yep, it's with external folks because this was written way before AI. So good. I'll start the timer and I'll mute myself, put any questions in the Zoom chat, and we'll get going. Okay, down to about 10 seconds. The clock is ticking. I hope everybody had fun doing this, and I'm happy to share mine as we move forward, but let's just start out with some other folks and see what you came up with. And Ben had mentioned that he was needed to duck out, so maybe he'll be able to share with us next time. Let's start with Lori.
Hi, everybody. So, this was a great opportunity to really take a step back and think about how I'm communicating. I frequently wind up rewriting emails because I recognize that I have a tendency to ramble. I have a tendency to get off track and to not be really focused. And I've been using ChatGPT to help me with rewriting those email messages a lot. But by putting it into the sticky framework, I'm now able to see how using some keywords can actually help improve that process even more. I asked this particular prompt to follow the steps. I shared that I am a consultant and that I frequently ramble. And it provided me with some really great examples of exactly what I would do and how it could be improved. So before, one of my statements might be, hey there, just a heads up. I was digging into the payroll module and I noticed a couple of entries that seem off, like the way bonuses are hitting the job cost report. I'm thinking maybe it's the way the items are mapped, but I need to double check a few other reports before saying for sure. That is absolutely my voice. I totally would have said that. After applying Sticky, this GPT said, hey, one small fix for clearer job costs. We found a hiccup in how bonuses are reported in job costing. It's likely tied to how payroll items are mapped. I'll confirm and follow up with a simple fix to make sure labor costs show up accurately. Very clear, very concise, 3 sentences, easy to read, really made a big difference. So I'm really grateful for this one. I definitely have a lot of practice I need to be doing with it. I also had it create a sticky explanation of job costing for construction clients. And I can see how we can use this for developing and or expanding our social media postings. So lots of great ideas out of this one, Diane. Thank you for sharing this one.
Cool. And you could even, I'm just thinking, brainstorming with you, if you put something to ChatGPT, you could say, please rewrite this in the style of make it stick. And then just put that in as a reference, and that might help as a thought. And I know as an accountant, it is very difficult sometimes to convey these complex things to clients without, it's not so much rambling, it's like you want to tell them everything you know about the topic so you can say, if this, then that, and if that, then this, and then.
And here's why, and here's why, and here's what I think, and yeah, on. It's
I
good.
see Rachel nodding as is a person who works in with people's financial information. Rachel?
Yeah, I've always found to just put the most important information, like cookie cut the summary first, and then I'll put my ramble afterwards. If they want to read the ramble, they can.
But you might even save yourself a little time to not have to write out all that stuff too. So there you go. It's an option. So Shai, what did you come up with?
So for me, I come up with actually when I answer the questions, I cannot think of a specific communication related challenge. And that's what I take off of ChatGPT as well. So it gave me learning objective based on success principles. And then we went down probably because of my history as well how to reframe a key communication in terms of drafting a content in my content in marketing. So here's an example. Instead of our webinar is at 2 p.m. EST, please attend via the Zoom link below. It reframed to what if your next hour could change how you use AI forever? In today's 2 p.m. session, you'll learn how a simple prompt can unlock better decisions, faster work, and more confidence at your desk. Join us live link below and walk away with 3 ChatGPT tools you can use immediately. So from there, it really changes. Yeah, it's more successful, more catchy. It's making sticking all the information as well together, having an impact on it. So it's a great learning for me to. I haven't thought of communication problem at first, but reading through it, yeah, there are a lot of things that we can still improve on, and with the help of ChatGPT as well, reframe your way of communication there.
Nice. Yeah, so maybe you'll use this again. You don't have to go through the whole prompt, but you could maybe say in the style of, okay, as I suggested. Laura, how did you come out?
My first response was, I love the metaphor. The metaphor was a Velcro strip of communication. And people who know me, my family has a nickname for me. I am the Velcro Queen because Velcro is an absolutely amazing tool. So that made me smile. It gave me some interesting learning objectives. And when it asked me, what next? What would I like to have help applying the ideas to? It gave me several topics choices, and I asked it to give me some feedback on the website headline or offer page. And I was able to provide it with 2 different pages that it could review, and I thought the results were very interesting. Again, the hook, the phrases were very interesting. So I thought that was very neat.
Nifty. Good. And Rachel, did you jump in this time or were you not able to?
I did a little bit. I was like, okay, we've been updating my website more for colors and things like that. But I was like, okay, play with the website, see what you would think. Unfortunately, I think they caught the old website, which has all the old language. And I'm like, wait, this isn't on it. So I'll have to play with it a little bit more.
Yeah, and if it got redirected or something. Yeah, but Good. I hope you can go back in and play with it. On mine, because we have added some new things to our company. First of all, one of the things we've added is Lori as our QBO Pro Advisor. And we need to let our clients know that we now have that QBO coverage. I'm still focused, and Lori's very familiar with and has worked for a long time in desktop, but she has gone on and taken all the certifications. So we want to let people know about that. The second thing is that we're going to be offering a new service, which I will let people know about soon, but we haven't rolled it out yet. And we're also pulling in that AI focus, and we would like to be able to help people utilize AI. Now, how do I let my clients know that after 30 years of sitting down and talking to them about job costing and QuickBooks Desktop? How do I bring those new things in to let them know that these are additional aspects that we could bring to the forefront? So I basically asked ChatGPT, should I send it all in one notification? Should I break it up into three different ones? Because there's really three different kinds of announcements. And it gave me the option that it would do one or the other or both. So I said, why don't you give me both and I can take a look at them? And the wording was wonderful. I'm sure that I will be pulling a lot of that wording in the announcements. And I haven't made up my mind yet if I just want to do one announcement or three separate ones, but we'll figure that out. Additionally, it gave us some extra topics that we can put out there in our broadcast to let people know how things are changing for us. So I found it to be very helpful. And I learn a lot every time I create these prompts. I'm learning to ask ChatGPT to help me create the prompts. I come up with the first layer and then I say, is there a better way to put this prompt together? And it made a couple of significant changes that I think helped put it together in a better way for you guys and for all of us. So just letting you know. So we've done our takeaways. And of course, everybody's familiar with this particular screen of the things that we do offer. And be sure to reach out to me if there's anything that you would like to know about additional AI coaching or some of the training options that are available also through the Simple program. I did repeat this time the same AI tips for the ChatGPT models. And if you want to throw this bonus handout that I sent, so if you already got it last time, it's the same one. I haven't changed it. But part of the reason I repeat these tips is just because I don't know about you. I see a tip, I go, ooh, that's a good idea. And then it gets filed away and I promptly forget about it. So this is a reminder that this tip is out here for you. And we're probably going to wrap up a little bit early today, but looking ahead, 2 weeks from Tuesday, let's see, a week from the coming Tuesday, however you want to think about it, on the 20th, we're going to come up with a prompt to help set your business plan for your next quarter. And we are going to, all of us in our company, we're going to apply this and then sit down and consolidate and see where we are. And then, of course, if you like it, you can use it again. That's the whole idea about these prompts. They're not one-timers. And then on Friday, 5/23, a book that I have loved and provided to several different people called Exactly What to Say, The Magic Words for Influence and Impact. And Lori, I know you've had a chance to peek inside under the cover of that. What have you thought about it so far?
Super helpful, easy to understand. And I like the fact it's also very easy to apply. Really a good resource. I've got it sitting here next to me so that if I fumble, I've got a resource. That's perfect.
Cool. So we should have fun with that one. Yeah, the idea is that we have a good time with these things. And then, of course, my questions, have you been tracking your time saved? And one idea to try before our next workshop is to take a look at new revenue streams. And of course, this week earlier, we did that creating your ideal business prompt. Try it with somebody else or just sit down and ask them some questions and see what it comes up with. I am reading, actually, I just heard in a podcast yesterday. I listened to it yesterday. It was from earlier in the week, but that college grads are now at an all-time low for being able to find jobs. The jobs are just not there for them, and they're really struggling. So, anybody who is, and they might not even be graduating, they might be in the middle of their college career, or even as they're starting to look towards graduating from high school, maybe they're not interested in college. Maybe they want to do something else. So I'll tell you what, some of this career advice I certainly wish I had way back when. It took me a long time to figure out where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. And this kind of information is just invaluable. Keep it in mind for other people, that even if not for yourself, but if for yourself, you might come up with some new revenue streams. Who knows? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Any passing thoughts before we leave today? Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. And gosh, you're going to get 17 or 18 minutes back in your day. I appreciate having you here, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Take care. Bye.